All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll call today's Housing, Urban Development, and Zoning Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Browning. Chair Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Sanye. We have 4 present. You have a quorum.
All right. I'll accept a motion for the approval of the minutes from Tuesday, November 14th, 2023.
So moved.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Aye. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderman Browning.
Aye.
Chair Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye. We have 4 aye votes.
All right. Moving right along, we will go to item number 1, Board Bill 155. Alderman Aldridge.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman Clark Hubbard and members of the committee. Hope everyone had a lovely holiday weekend. I stand in front of you today to present Board Bill 155. Do I need to move for its adoption in front of the committee? Or I move for the adoption of Board, no. Okay, it's in front of it. So Board Bill 155 is a very simple bill. So it's a $5 million grant that is awarded from HUDs on the federal level. We received this money. It was already approved through ENA. This $5 million is to improve Cass Avenue. I would say roughly probably between 14th Street going all the way up north past NGA. As NGA is coming to the neighborhood, it's an anchor to really develop that community. This $5 million is supposed to be used for road and street improvement, as well as leveraging more improvements such as the Brick Great Rivers Greenway that is planned to also come down Cass as well as 20th Street. This is just an appropriation bill so that CDA can be able to use those funds to be able to develop 20th Street with the $5 million. The director of CDA was supposed to be here to speak on it, but I can take any questions if he's not here yet.
All right. Did you, do we want to see if we have any speakers first, or do you all want to ask questions first? It's up to you all.
And I do know we have one speaker here.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and take the speaker.
Mr. Todd, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you.
I affirm I do.
You're firm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak on this issue. I'm not necessarily against the bill. I think it's very needed. We need infrastructure. We need good streets in St. Louis. I think all of us can agree on that. But what I am concerned about are when these major contractors be awarded to contractors and developers, that there seems to be no adherence to city policy as relates to workforce development, especially the bill that deals with 25% minority participation and 5% women on these jobs. It seems as though these contractors not following these policies, and it's a very concern to me as relates to economic opportunities for people in the community. And I just hoping that the Board of Aldermen would take a look at this to ensure that these contractors and these major developers would not just overlook the policies that's been implemented by the city to increase workforce development and economic opportunities for the people in our neighborhood. It's very important. In fact, one of the things that they tell me when I asked them, that they tell me that they can't find nobody in the community. So I asked a couple of white brothers and sisters who was working on Jefferson. One of them was holding a stop sign, and the other one was pushing the broom. So you mean to tell me that you cannot find nobody at St. Patrick's or Slate or Employment Connection or in the community cannot hold a stop sign or push a broom to be willing to make over $50 an hour? This is unacceptable. So even though we have this bill in place, I just hope that the aldermans, ensure that the community, that the agencies, we look out for the interests of the people as relates to these policies. It puzzles me sometimes how our community agencies, when it comes to wealthy, rich developers, contractors, they look at public policies and able to interpret them to preserve the interests of big business. But when the same community utilize the same policies that's on the books for them, they seem to turn a blind eye. And I think this is wrong. This is not equitable. This is not acceptable for the neighborhood. So at some point, I think the Board of Aldermen needs to, at the conclusion of these contracts, bring these agencies in with their contractors to show the community what exactly do they do to empower the neighborhood as it relates to workforce development. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Todd. I see our CDA director is here now. I don't know if you want to come up and have a few words.
Good morning, and apologize for my tardiness. I do have a few handouts for you all this morning. There you go. Which describe the improvements at Cass Avenue. There's 2 one-pagers there. Of course. Good morning, everyone. I just got off a plane late last night. Thank you. It's good to be back. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving break. So I'm going to start with a little bit of history pertaining to the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the $2 billion development currently underway. And as part of the agreement between the city and NGA, we entered into a land development remediation and transfer agreement under which the city made 3 commitments, which were a contingency for the NGA relocating into North St. Louis. Those 3 commitments were that we would deliver a 100-acre clean site, acquire, remediate, and deliver the 100-acre site, that we would pass a special use district to limit development incompatible with the NGA's mission for the security of the property, and that we would construct infrastructure improvements, including a full interchange at I-64 in Jefferson, and complete streets improvements at Cass Avenue in North Jefferson. This Cass Avenue Complete Streets Improvement Project is part and parcel of delivering our NGA. And so it is not a want or a desire, it is a need. It is something that we are contractually obligated to do pursuant to an agreement with the federal government. So pursuant to that agreement, we have moved forward with a variety of these improvements, including at I-64, including at Jefferson. Last year, the Board of Aldermen passed Board Bill number 36, which enacted a new city and state financing agreement to raise over $20 million in bonds, leveraging other federal grants such as this one. So that bond series was passed. Those $20 million are now in our accounts. We've committed that $20 million towards the improvement of Cass Avenue, St. Louis Avenue, 22nd Street, and managing contingencies. Excuse me, I need to catch my breath. We've already committed $2 million towards the design of Cass Avenue, a complete streets project, and you can see some of those work products before you in terms of those one-pagers. And you can see it includes smart city concepts, it includes new street lights, it includes pedestrian and bike infrastructure, mobility, and it is just a complete streets multimodal improvements projects. And if you have any questions to that, I can try and answer, or more likely refer you to BPS and LDC and Horner Schifrin, which is who BPS is contracted with to do this work. But as we move forward, we are looking at applying at a RAISE grant for $25 million. That opens shortly and will close in February. But we've already been appropriated, thanks to the advocacy of Senator Blunt, this $5 million in community project funding. This $5 million is congressionally directed spending in the 2022 appropriation, otherwise known as an earmark in the FY23 budget for Cass Avenue improvement. This board bill is very straightforward. It appropriates these funds, it authorizes the city to enter into a grant agreement with HUD, and allows us to move forward. And in fact, we cannot move forward until we have this board bill passed, which is why we're before you today. Because we are already spending down the Series C bond issue funds, and we need to continue building that capital stack and that runway so that we can also apply for RAISE funds and keep the whole project moving in a timely manner. happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and then we'll go into questions. I do want to, did you hear the comments from Brother Todd as you came in?
I came in the middle of those comments, but from what I heard, I'll say that we support any data requests that the Board of Aldermen want to conduct. If you all share the information that you're looking for, we're happy to help work with the contractors and with the developers of various projects, because I think Brother Todd was referring not only to these infrastructure improvements, but also to the housing development going on, and we'd be happy to pass on those data requests and assist with collecting that information.
Great, and as a point of information, is there someone specifically in your office that works around compliance, minority participation, or should we be circling back to someone else?
So the city's head of MWB compliance is Stacy Fowler at SLDC. So we work very closely with her and her team. However, in my office, we also enforce the city's MWB ordinances, and there are a number of people in our office who work.
Okay, all right. We'll go for questions. Alderman Cone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the design of this, does this comply with our Complete Streets policy?
It is my understanding that it was designed to do so. I also understand that Horner Schifrin recently held an open house at the Polish Heritage Center just the other week, where they collected additional input from the community. But it is absolutely the intent. This is defined as a Complete Streets project, and that is the intent.
Are we reducing any of the traffic lanes on Cass? Because from what it looks like right now, it's a 2-lane street, and this looks like it's a 2-lane street in each direction, and this is still a 2-lane street in each direction. So it looks like it's almost widening.
Yes, and in fact, that was part of the commitment to NGA was to, excuse me.
So if I could jump in on that. So like Noel said, in the community, we actually just a few weeks ago had a meeting about the design to get more community input. If you actually look at it, if you drive up and down Cass, it's like a freeway. I know Brother Todd probably could attest to it. When you turn north from Tucker going all the way, or when you turn, north from Tucker on Cass, it's not a stop sign, almost like 2 blocks away. And then there's not another stop sign until you get roughly to a 20th Street. So this is one of the designs I know that was presented at the meeting. It actually would be a medium in the middle, and there would be a 1-lane street going east and west, and it will allow people to park because those are residential. So it's currently a 2-lane street going up Cass, but it would be a 1-lane now with parking still for people that have residential that stay on Cass. So it won't be a 2-lane. It'll be a 2-lane, but with parking. But it'll just be for east and west, 1 cars to be able to go east and west.
And then there's the creation of a multi-use path.
Yes, so the multi-use path for people to be able to walk, and then there will be concrete between the parking and people walking as well. On one side of the street, there will be a option for a little bit wider for bike and multi-use path.
Is this has this already been finalized by BPS?
That I do not know, but I don't think it is yet.
Yeah, they're still very much in the design phase. $2 million has been committed towards the design, and they've just begun to spend that down.
Okay, and then the light posts that are pictured here on this handout that you provided have little electronic signals emoting from them. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the light poles will be upgraded. So right now, if you go down Cass, unfortunately, in that neighborhood, we still have them old, ugly-looking yellow lights. They're not really bright. So the plan is, we know that with bright lights, that's one way we deter crime. So we would be upgrading those lights, making them brighter, as well as even be potentially putting cameras on those lights for security concerns of residents that live there, to ensure that that community has a little bit of extra security. And I think there's an option also trying to figure out how do we look to bring internet to that area that has not that suffers with low lack of internet and access to internet and fiber cells over there.
I'm going to ask a question. I'm not sure you'll have the answer for it, and it's okay if you don't. But so with the multi-use path, it looks like it might be on the north side of the street, and my maps are acting up now. Want me to download something here? Not going to do that right now. How does it transition from the beginning of CAS to the end of CAS? So how are you feeding the multi-use traffic onto that path? So because there's not a multi-use path, east of Tucker, west of North Grand. So what happens when that, cyclist ends up crossing over North Grand?
I can share one element of this, and that is that I do believe that intersecting with the Greenway and connecting Cass Avenue to the Greenway is a key piece of this plan. Another element that we're looking at is as we invest through the City's Choice Neighborhood Program into Loretta Hall Park, into Murphy Park, connecting those parks as well, so that it is easier and the neighborhood becomes more permeable and walkable as a whole, not just on Cass Avenue.
Specifically, though, at the intersections where these terminate and begin, there needs to be a specific transition plan for the integration of the old infrastructure into the new infrastructure. So at the beginning terminal, the end terminal, there should be at those intersections some sort of transition plan in place so that it's a natural feed in and out of that built path.
Yes, and I will also add on to it, this is probably one of many plans in that area. So also at Cass and 20th Street, there will also be the 20th Street project that has a multi-use path that will tie into this one. And as well as when you get up to Grand and you go north on Grand, there is where the Brickline Greenway will also have a multi-use path. So a lot of these are connecting paths to other projects that I believe will make sure that they have that safety intersection measure as well. But this is just the Cass project that will, like I say, will be able to connect to the 20th Street project that has a multi-use path that also will be able to connect to the Cass project that has the Grand project that also has the path as well.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions that I have for now, Madam Chair.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the presentation and this information. I am looking forward to more projects in the city that do this sort of infrastructure change to add the multi-path and everything like that. So I'm really excited and plan to support this. Thank you.
Alderman Browning.
Thank you. I echo that same sentiment. I think it's really important to continue to build this kind of infrastructure, and it's exciting to see this kind of investment in coordination with things like the NGA. Speaking to Brother Todd's comments, I do hear this concern a lot about minority participation and making sure that we are enforcing the ordinances that we've already passed about these kinds of things. I understand that's enforced through SLDC. But reading through this board bill, I'm wondering if there is a place where we could put in a provision about a clawback for this money if they don't follow. Because right now I'm not aware of any kind of enforcement to make sure that if we go ahead and award this money, that there is going to be any way to actually hold them accountable and make sure that they do follow those rules. And that's something I hear from unions and labor across the city all the time. So maybe Director Pfeffer could speak to that.
Yeah, I'll speak to that in the context of MWBE requirements and the city's MWBE requirements. I'm not an expert on this, but I do know a little bit about the legal framework. And one of the constraints that we face is Supreme Court doctrine that essentially requires any race-based goals to be narrowly tailored in order to meet strict scrutiny. And that requires us to conduct a disparity study of the city's labor markets where we can set those goals accordingly. So that is something that SLDC is currently in the process of doing, is creating that disparity study. Until we have that, we have to use the standards of we have these goals and then we require good faith efforts towards them. And so that's one of the challenges that we face, is that that's obviously a rather unambiguous standard. I think we'll be able to do a lot more to enforce these more aggressively once we have an updated disparity study that stands up in court in terms of reflecting these goals that are narrowly tailored. So I think at this point that might expose us to some liability, but certainly something that we can move towards.
Okay, thank you. I understand that. That makes sense to me. I have that issue with the good faith kind of thing, because so far that has not served us well. But it sounds like we're taking steps towards that, so I'll be checking back in on that and asking that question every single time this comes up. But otherwise, I'm willing to move this forward today because I do love good infrastructure, and this will go a long way to helping improve parts of North City that really need it. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Browning. Vice Chair Sain.
Yeah, I think I would echo the comments of everyone else. I think this is an exciting project. I'm thinking specifically of some schools in the area too that I think would be very excited to see this happen and see these roads get some work done. And I also think it's really interesting too, the way that you guys outline the timeline. And I would hope that, folks at home, or even as we move through our communities, can take note that even though this bill is happening today, construction still isn't going to start until 2 to 3 years from now, just to show people how long this work really does take. So I'm glad, proud of you all for just starting the work and getting us on the path, and look forward to seeing it come into completion and continuing the conversation around the minority women business requirement as well.
All right. With that, you're welcome to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I do want to say, and really also want to highlight Brother Todd's comments. I know he's been out there on the ground. This neighborhood has been overlooked for a very long time. It's a lot of exciting projects that are coming, which I think is a great development, not just for the city, but a community that has been overlooked for a long time. However, there has been not the best inclusion when it comes to hiring people of color, or as well as women and men, and especially people in that community. Not just hopefully with us raising a concern on this, that the city will do better. Alderman Browning, I'm not opposed to clawbacks as long as we can legally do them, because I do think it's important. While we do want good development, we also don't want to overlook the people where the development is happening. That has been a little bit of an issue when it comes to the housing element. This is more the infrastructure, but the housing element. So I really do appreciate Brother Todd being here today and uplifting that, and also believe this is a really exciting project for this community. There's a lot going on over there with NGA. This type of infrastructure that would stretch all the way up to Grand, like Alderwoman Sonia says, it doesn't just impact residents. There's a lot of schools that would be impacted also, especially as you go up Cass, Vashon, a very historic school that hasn't had, like I say, some beautification in a long time, as well as other schools in that area like Gateway, as well as Carr Lane, that would be able to tap into this and off of Jefferson Avenue. So exciting project. I look forward to making sure that we continue to hold the city accountable and follow the ordinance that are on the books when it comes to inclusion and hiring people that are of color, as well as women, and especially people within that neighborhood. If we're going to upgrade that neighborhood, which is my neighborhood, it's also important that people that live there have an opportunity for these jobs. So thank you, Brother Todd, for being here, and I appreciate the committee's questions. I appreciate the director as well for being here. And with that, I would ask for a to pass recommendation on Board Bill 155.
I make a motion. Sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
I make a motion that we pass Board Bill 155 with a due pass recommendation.
Second, previous, or no, objection to previous.
Okay.
Previous.
Sorry, we can't do previous roll.
I just withdrew my request and made an objection.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye,
Aye.
Alderman Browning,
Aye.
Chair Clark Hubbard. Aye. We have 5 aye votes.
Great, congratulations. All right, any resolutions for review? Okay, any committee discussions? Any written testimony?
We have none.
All right. Announcements?
Madam Chair, I just would like to make note that I've requested Board Bill 152 to be heard next week in committee.
Great.
And I've made that request of the clerk as well.
Okay, I think I saw the email as well about that added to next week's meeting. Any other announcements? Okay, all members present. So with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we adjourn. Have a blessed day.